Slowing Down yoga community. It's so good to be back here with you. It's so good to be back on the mat teaching for you. Thank you for being here. As always, my name is Morgan, and I'm going to be holding some space for your yoga practice today. So a few of you know that I have been away for a couple of weeks from filming classes and actively creating content for this community. 2 weeks ago, my partner and I tested positive for COVID, which was really shocking and surprising for a number of reasons. You know, we're really careful. We thought that we would have gotten it by now. It was a kind of a strange time to get it, but lo and behold, we got it, and we were laid out for a few weeks, really laid out, and we both consider ourselves healthy, active people. And I want to acknowledge that there was this very strange ethos going around earlier in the pandemic that younger people are less affected by this virus. Again, everyone's body is completely different, but my partner and I are in our 20s, and we got our butts kicked by this thing. And so it has been a very radical, intense, humbling journey of healing for myself. I'll speak for myself, especially as someone who teaches breath and movement as a huge part of my lifestyle, as a huge part of my work. What I do is I teach people how to be in their bodies, and it was really tough to not be able to be in my body fully in the way that I like to be, in the way that I'm used to be, occupying my body. And it was very hard to not be able to teach during that time. And in addition to getting COVID, I also lost my grandfather very suddenly, so there was a lot happening in my personal life, but I really believe that everything happens for a reason. There is this great mystery. Spirit has a plan, and in the time since, in just like the week or so that I've had where I can breathe fully into my lungs and really feel myself in my body, I've been doing a lot of reflecting on what all of this means and what it all meant. And there's so much, right? It's always coming. I'm always learning as I process my experiences. We are always learning as we process our experiences. I have learned a lot about slowing down and a lot about lung tissue itself, which is the basis of our class today. So today's practice is going to be a very gentle, very informative class all about lung health and lung spaciousness. And I'm just kicking myself because this is something that I could have been teaching to such a long time ago. I mean, of course, obviously, the lungs are everything. The lungs are paramount to our experience of not only being embodied, but breathing, talking, singing, and communicating, and especially our yoga practice. But having this new perspective, having survived COVID, having survived a lot of grief, I now have this brand new appreciation for what the lungs are and what the lungs do for us and what they mean in various traditions, and we'll get into that. But as I mentioned, I'm still healing. They say you need about anywhere between a month to 6 weeks to be on a cellular level back to where you were prior to COVID. And so I am, about 2 or 3 weeks out now. So my lungs are still healing. Therefore, this practice is going to be reflective of that in a way that's a lot more informative. Very gentle movement meant to inform the space of the lungs and the chest, the whole thoracic box, as well as create some space in the chest, in the heart space, in the lungs. So this practice is really, it's really good for everybody, especially if you are someone who has, recovered from COVID. Your body has that cellular knowledge already of having recovered from COVID. This class is really good if you are recently vaccinated and experiencing some of those similar symptoms of feeling congested or feeling kind of heavy in the lungs and the chest area. This class is really good for people who have pre-existing lung conditions such as asthma or anything respiratory related. This class is really good if you just need some space to breathe and to re-access the place of your lungs. So we'll get into it. We'll get into all of it. It'll be a condensed practice, and I'm really excited to to have everybody here to learn a little bit more about the lung tissue itself. Cross-culturally, and I learned this just through my illness and through the support of a lot of the indigenous people in my community who came forward with their wisdom and their medicines while I was ill, I learned that the lungs are the organ, cross-culturally, many cultures, that carry the emotion of grief. And this makes a lot of sense if you think about, what happens when we are grieving, when we are overtaken with the heaviness of sadness or the heaviness of mourning, which is something that I feel like I'm very connected to right now, having recently lost a grandparent. Our ability to take a deep breath in is hugely affected when we are grieving. And I'm speaking from my perspective of very personal grief right now. I want to acknowledge that we as a collective and as a global village are experiencing a lot of grieving and have been over this past year. More specifically, in the past couple of weeks, there have been so many acts of terrorism and hate crimes out of the systemic white supremacy that is very pervasive in our culture. And those things seem to keep happening every week. They're very regularly happening. So there is this incessant wave of grief happening in the world right now as we continue to move through, what's the word I'm using, trying to find, just decompressing and taking, piecing and parting away white supremacy and re-indigenizing ourselves in our own community. That's a very grief-full process. And so when we take the time to really breathe deeply, that is one of the quickest ways that we can metabolize the grief out of our bodies, get the heaviness out of our bodies, and move forward. There was a day, or a night rather, when I had COVID, where the symptoms were so heavy in my lungs that I couldn't breathe past right here, this line in my chest, and I couldn't fall asleep because of it. My body wasn't getting enough oxygen. It's a very scary feeling. For those of you who have asthma or asthmatic and have had asthma attacks before, you'll know that feeling of not being able to take in a deep breath. And my body started to do something really interesting. It went into complete sympathetic nervous system response, which is fight or flight, right? We're very familiar with fight or flight as Americans in the West. And so I started to hyperventilate and couldn't breathe. I couldn't calm down. I was breathing just right out of my clavicles, right out of the upper chest. Luckily, I had my partner with me, and he was able to talk me down and calm me down and just help me breathe just a little bit slower, which ultimately brought me out of that nervous system response, right? So when we are not able to access deeper breath, diaphragmatic breathing, lower in the body, we are thrown into a state of stress, shock, and fear, which further exacerbates those sensations of grief. So this is why the deep breath is so essential to our spiritual, emotional well-being, because down here, when we can breathe lower into our body, into our diaphragm, that's where the magic of the parasympathetic nervous system exists. That's where we can bring ourselves back into vagal tone, back into a place of being calm and resourced and in control of whatever experience we're having, whether that is an emotional experience, a spiritual experience, a psychological experience. Breath is in everything, you guys. So this is why I'm so excited to really talk about the importance of breath and lung health today. So let's begin with just a little bit of breathing. So please switch out the cross of your legs here. Just stay balanced in the effort of your hip flexors. Place your hands palms down on your knees and take your elbows kind of wide, wing them out. Sometimes we're here, right with the arms really close to the body. Straighten the axis of your spine, wing your elbows out to kind of open the space of your armpits, to open the side bodies and the lungs, and feel free to close your eyes if that feels okay. Let's just start with a simple breath in through your nostrils, as deep as you can go. Out the mouth. Two more like that. Breathe in through your nostrils. Out the mouth. And one more. Take it in. And give it back. And continue this cycle of breath at your own tempo. If you'd like, you can place your palm across your heart, across your chest plate for a more grounding effect in the breath. Personally, my lung capacity is still very sensitive and limited, but if you are ready for a deeper and longer breath, please take it into your body. It's no secret what a breath can do for us. How it can stabilize any experience and remind us of the humbleness of this human experience. Now I'd like to guide you into a bit of a softer pranayama practice. And I learned this from a teacher of mine a long time ago. Essentially what I want you to do is inhale through your nostrils as if you were smelling a really delicate spring flower. And then exhale as if you were trying to flicker the flame of a candle. So, very subtle breath. So inhale to smell the flowers. Lightly, good. Then exhale to flicker the flame of a candle. You can do it out your mouth. Continue to breathe that way. This particular pranayama actually retrains the air sacs in the lungs to hold a greater capacity eventually. So remember this very specific technique of smelling the flowers and flickering the candle, because it's a wonderful exercise for anyone between the ages of 3 years old to 100 years old to retrain and reorient the role of the lungs when they've forgotten how deeply they can breathe, how strong and powerful they really are. This is an excellent breath exercise whenever you are feeling short of breath and a deeper breath is just not simply an option. So let's just do 3 more. Inhale through the nose. Good. 2 more. Smell the flowers. Blow out the candle. Smell the flowers. And blow out the candle. Such good work, everyone. Find the depth of breath that works for you today. For me, I'm going to stick with that. If you are feeling more available in your lungs, you're welcome to bring in a deeper breath. Now let's invite in some movement now, a little bit of gentle asana. So bring your legs into deer pose. So keep your left shin in front of you, swing your right leg behind you. Good. And then take your left hand all the way out to the side, spread through your palm, and reach up and over through the entire, the right side of your body. Good. Lateral flexion to literally open up your side body, to open the space of your stomach and your lung here. If you like, you can use a block underneath this bottom hand and even come down to a forearm. I'm going to do that today just for a little more support. Good. And really lean out, but also take this top arm, stretch. So reach up and over as if you could open up the fascia in between each and every rib. Good. Remember, drop your shoulder away from the side of your neck and your ear if it's available. You can visualize that by gently tractioning your shoulder blade down your back body. And a tip that I love here is take your hand to your ribs and just pull as if you could stretch your ribs up towards the ceiling. Keep that arm up and overhead. 3 full body breaths into your right lung. Great job. Go ahead and circle your hand forward. Press yourself all the way back up to center and switch sides. So come into those deer legs on the opposite side. You can bring your block if you like. Good. Get nice and situated in your seat first. The deer legs are really nice for just opening up the hips, which, as we know, is an area that holds a lot of other stored emotion. Everything in the body is connected. The more we can open the hips, the more we can also open up the belly and the lungs. Plant your, what is this? Your right hand down, mirroring everyone. Reach up and over, big side body stretch to the opposite side. And if you like, take your hand to your ribs, gently pull your ribs up, big stretch. Remember to push out through your fingertips. We are creating length across your side bodies, creating more lateral flexion. And notice the differences psychosomatically and spiritually on each side of your body. One side of your body might be a lot tighter or more tense or holding on to a lot more. For me, this is my dominant side, so I'm a lot tighter on this side. My breath is already kind of fighting me, so let's just take 3 patient breaths. Breathe in. Breathe out. 2 more. Take it in. Let it out. Good. Already breathing deeper. Breathe in big. Exhale. Good. Circle yourself all the way back around. Press yourself up. And this time, go ahead and sit on the rounded edge of your blanket. If you are using one, this just gives us a little bit more of a tilt in the low back. And bring your feet into butterfly pose. Best you can, join the soles of your feet. Let your knees rest wide. If you are experiencing tightness in any part of your hips, knees, or ankles, bring some blocks underneath the knees. Clasp your ankles. Good. From here, let's just take a few seated cat-cows before we graduate into larger thoracic movement. So inhale, lift your heart, draw your shoulder blades closer together, shelf your collarbones up towards the sky, and then exhale, round. Tuck your chin, tuck your tailbone, hollow your abdominals. Good, couple more, inhale forward. Exhale, round. Good, 2 more at your own pace. Last one. Good. Come back to a simple cross-legged seated position. Remove your blocks. And this time, bring your arms in front of you as if you were holding a giant beach ball. Good. So this is going to get a little bit more into the Kundalini practice of yoga. On your inhale breath, widen your arms and bring your spine into that cat. What is this? The cow position. Excuse me, the cow position. So arch your back, Hug your shoulder blades together. Maybe lift your chin a little bit if that feels okay in the back of your neck. And then exhale, round, and bring your hands together. Really round through your back. Maybe touch your fingertips. Hug everything in towards your spine. Good, inhale, open. Cow pose in the spine, open across your heart and your lungs. Exhale, curl, really get round, tuck your chin. 2 more, inhale, big. Exhale. Oh, my lungs are already feeling better. 1 more round, inhale, big, open across the chest. This time, spread through your hands, flex your hands and your wrists, look up. Exhale, curl. This time, wrap your arms around your shoulders. Good. Come all the way back up to an easy seat. Relax your hands. All right. We're going to move a little bit into some more self-massage meant specifically for the lungs. There is this really special pressure point right underneath your clavicles, your collarbones, and you can access it by taking one hand and moving it to the opposite side and kind of feel around for it. In my experience, pressure points traditionally you can kind of feel the natural divot or the feeling once you've landed into it. It's a really specific feeling of like, oh yeah, there it is. So this is called Lung 1, also known as Zong Fu, or the treasury, as it's called in traditional Chinese medicine. So feel around for it. You'll know it when, especially if you are experiencing some lung compromisation right now. I don't even know if that's a word. If your lungs are compromised a little bit right now, you'll know this pressure point by its tenderness, by it feeling like it hurts a little bit. It's good if you can feel that, if you are aware of that tenderness, because that tenderness or that pain is an indication that the chi or the life force energy is not flowing in as optimally as we would like it to. So really find that pressure point in yourself. If you like, you can massage it a little bit or just hold it down. For me, it feels really grounding to just hold that pressure point right there. And let's just take a few moments to breathe into Lung Wang Zong Fu, this pressure point, the treasury. Good. And if you feel the desire to cough, it's generally a good sign. Oh, wonderful. Switch to the opposite side. Go ahead and shake out that arm. Move to the opposite side. Seek out Zong Fu on this side of the body. And as we know, as practitioners of movement and movement medicine, the sides of the body are very rarely perfectly symmetrical, right? One side has a lot more to say or a lot less to say than the other. So notice what's going on here once you, you lock in on your pressure point. There might be less sensation. There might be a lot more. For me, I'm really feeling this. I'm already just pressing it, feeling this urge to cough and to expel. So be gentle with it. Remember, we don't want to dig too hard. Visualize your pressure points as buttons that can release pressure and are ultimately access portals to information about what's going on in your body. 3 rounds of breath here. It's working. 1 more. So good, my friends. Remember this one. This one is one that you can continue to work with on your own, or if you have a body worker that you see regularly, or an acupuncturist, someone that you trust to touch your body. this is so nice for clearing any kind of congestion, even things as simple as a cold, or allergies. So remember this one. All right, so let's move to lying down supine. Go ahead and lay down on your backs. Let's see. I just want to thank everyone for taking this class with me. I know that it's not a traditional asana movement class. This one is a little bit more of a workshop educationally around the tissue of the lungs specifically. So thank you for taking the risk and trying something new. So keep your knees bent, leaning yourself all the way back. If you like, you can use your blanket as a bit of a neck rest. What I want you to do is pull your shirt up and take your fingers and just start to kind of walk them around the ridge of your ribs here, around the area of your diaphragm. Woo, and take that slow. My diaphragm is already like, girl, what are you doing? Like, been through so much. The diaphragm is this really incredible muscle. It's this like very big dome, thin piece of tissue that comes right up underneath your lungs, and it has a huge capacity for movement and flexibility. It is the piece of tissue that is so massively paramount in every single breath that we take. It's really a support to the lungs. And sometimes continue to kind of walk your fingertips underneath your rib cage. Sometimes what happens, especially if we have been ill or compromised, or our posture has just been, really rounded forward for a while for, whatever reason, the diaphragm can become adhered and kind of stuck and sticky through the connective tissue and the fascia. So what I want you to do with your fingers, and close your eyes, let this be intuitive, is to just kind of press your fingertips down, as if you could gently massage and separate where the adhesion fascia is between your lungs and your diaphragm. Just a really gentle abdominal massage to create space and awareness. If you like, you can even place your hands on the bottom of your ribs and gently kind of traction the skin up towards the center of your chest. And that might feel really nice, just to elongate the bottoms of your lungs. And reach and continue to kind of lift your ribs more towards where your breastbone is, your sternum. Good. Be easy with this one. Don't overdo it. You can overdo it, especially if this is your first time getting into the fascia of your lungs. And your diaphragm. You wanna just be really gentle here. Feel around those organs. If there's an area that feels, tender or speaks up, remember, all of that is information. All of that is information that your body is telling you. Our bodies are so intelligent. When that feels complete, just go ahead and pull your shirt back down. Our final posture that we will do together is Matsyasana, fish pose. So fish pose is, and I'll demonstrate it in a moment, fish pose in the science of yoga is regarded as the posture that clears disease. And it's because of its heart opening, lung and organ stretching opening, throat opening capacities. It is such an incredible posture that almost emulates the expectorant properties that we get from cough syrup or medicine. It is this big grand opening, this accessing of the throat channel in the mouth, which inadvertently opens the hips and the pelvic floor. It is this incredible posture. So we'll do it together. Come up onto your elbows or your forearms.
Spread your hands wide so you have a lot of surface area to support. And visualize kind of drawing your shoulder blades closer to each other. Good. If you want to get really traditional, bring your feet together, point your toes, lift your chest up towards the sky, and slowly dip your head back so the nape of your skull rests on the girdle of your shoulder blades. And if you like, really get soft and open in your mouth. Breathe in. Open mouth, exhale. Lion's breath is really clearing here if you'd like to stick your tongue out. A few more. Good, one more. And clear that disease out. Tuck your chin first to protect the back of your neck and slowly ease your way all the way back to lying down. Interlace your hands, take your elbows wide, bring your hands to the very back of your head, just kind of like a basket. And we'll finish off this sequence with a little bit of banana pose. So here, go ahead and walk your feet towards the bottom left corner of your yoga mat, and then lift your torso and kind of wiggle your upper body towards the top left corner of your yoga mat. The idea is that we're creating this really lovely banana shape or banana curve throughout your right side body. So it's lateral flexion throughout your right side, creating lots of space and opening in your right lung. A few rounds of slow breath, perhaps revisiting that, smelling the flower, blowing the flame of the candle breath. Just retraining the capacity of the lungs, reminding them of their power, reminding them of their capacity to carry joy. One more breath in. And one more breath out. Good. Let's switch sides. Bring your feet to the bottom right corner of your mat. Lift your torso up and over towards the top right corner. Big stretch through your left side. In traditional Chinese medicine, the lungs are ruled by the metal element. And I believe metal is all about circulation. So as we know, a deep breath into the lungs oxygenates the blood, the real blood body that sustains all of your organs, that sustains your life, really. So when we are in alignment with lung health, with really deep breaths, we are ensuring that the flow of qi in our entire body is equally strong. Breathe in. And breathe out. So good, my friends. Come back to center. Bend your knees. Bring your knees in towards your belly. Give yourself a big hug and squeeze. Wrap your arms over your shins. Curl your head, neck, and shoulders. Massage the back sides of your lungs and your kidneys, anywhere that feels tender or sensitive. And if there are any other final movements, shapes, or preparations that you're craving to feel fully satisfied in this specific practice, go ahead and take any of those now. And as you feel ready, ease your way into your final resting pose. If you like, you can keep your hands as we practice on your lungs or your diaphragm to feel your breath move underneath your palms. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to practice with me, to tend to the health of your lung ki, your lung life force energy. It has been my pleasure to hold space for you in your practice, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.